All right, guys, we do have a special guest today. We got Kai from A Studios, and Kai is a product manager and director of educational partnerships. Kai is based out of LA, and he specializes in music and technology and AI. So, Kai, thank you for hopping on. Um, you know, First thing we want to ask is basically the ethical AI in practice. Defining what ethical AI truly means for your operations.
But before we get to that, Kai, can you give us so basically, you're behind, or you're one of the key players behind A Studio, which is an AI production platform, essentially, right? Do I got that right?
Yeah, it's a like a DAW, fully integrated DAW for different research around AI and sound right now.
Okay, perfect. So, like, I use it myself. Like, I've been one. I was an early adopter,
Oh,
and
cool.
then I remember emailing Maxine, and I was like, right now it's a little bit buggy for me, but then I was just telling you, the last couple updates have been like game changing. And I think it's a great platform. And but yeah, like Nick was saying, so there's this whole, I mean, the AI music conversation is going at light speed.
Yeah,
Every week it seems to be changing.
yeah,
And there's this defining line between ethical and non-ethical. And the way I would just sum it up would be, it's ethical AI on one side, and essentially the elephant in the room, Suno, on the other side, right? And we wanted to get your take on your personal side of like what you see as ethical and non-ethical, and then how A Studios um, positions itself as ethical AI platform.
yeah. So the whole ethics question is it's pretty complicated and definitely hazy. There's a lot of considerations, like data sourcing, like where's the data from, how are humans involved in the loop. Um, Without going too deep into the I mean, there's so many directions we can go, right? But I
Yeah.
just want to say, like, at least for Ace, um, we started out definitely thinking about vocals, AI vocals, meaning we can input MIDI notes and then have different singers sing those lines and change lyrics and things like that. And then we started moving towards AI instruments. Now, these components, for us, the model from the beginning has always been working with individuals or like teams who have different players, whether musicians or vocalists, instrumentalists or vocalists. So our motto has always been like, okay, we're working either directly with the vocalists themselves, meaning we're like walking through how they record their audio so we can quote unquote clone their voice into a singing voice. It often means going back and forth, working with them, gathering their data set, which is just audio recordings, trying to capture their voice as best as we can with the technology that we have, and that they get royalties for it. So most of the singers are getting, like, every time you click on them to use them in the A Studio, like use their voice,
Mhm.
there's a record of how many times they're being used throughout the day, and then they get a royalty check every 3 to 6 months, depending on their
Okay.
contract. And that's the same with musicians too. So every time you're actually working with these people or using them in Ace, you're working with a very specific vocalist or a very specific instrumentalist. That means we're capturing the sound of their instrument and the way they play. So that's really important for us, is that you're getting the characteristics of individuals for this.
So it's very similar to like model to 11 Labs, because 11 Labs right off the get go was like that as well, going like every voice artist is going to receive a royalty, or it's a buyout agreement or whatever they have, but they get
Mhm.
some sort of compensation for the use of their talent and their voice, right?
Yeah, yeah. For the most part, all our vocalists and instrumentalists are individually like contracted. There are a few where it's like I'm a I'm like a manager of a team and I have different access to different people. Then we're dealing with them. But for the most part, they're like individuals that we're working with.
So, for example, if I load up a vocal that I have, because I have my own set of vocalists that I've done paperwork with, and
Mhm.
I work with. and I upload it to Ace Studios. Does Ace Studios now, like, what is it? Do they use it and share it as part of their data set, or is it like isolated just to my?
It's completely encrypted to you, unless you there's an option to share to the community, meaning
Yeah.
like I can share it with other, but once you decide to share it, then you're saying I'm letting other people use my voice.
Yeah, but it becomes part of the whole, training the algorithm and part of that base, right?
Yeah, we actually don't take any user data to train any of the voices, actually. So if you're vocal cloning, so Ace, just to back up, Ace has the ability to, what you're mentioning is Ace has the ability to clone individual voices as a
Right.
user, right?
Yeah.
So meaning I could take my songwriting partner, I can clone my own voice. As long as you have permission for the data set, you could just upload vocals and clone them. So what you do actually when you do that is the training happens, on a server, a remote server somewhere, but all that data is encrypted. So we don't have access to your vocal recordings. We don't know what's in them. We just know that you are training. And then that goes back to you directly. So none of that data is used to train our other models, or we're not taking the things you uploaded to train another voice of you that we release. So that's just completely private to you, unless you
And so
share.
that's part of the whole you're situating yourself as like, a pro or a commercial grade level, as far as like more for entertainment. Like Suno, for example, I would consider more for entertainment value.
Yeah.
Whereas like even the production quality that I've noticed is like way beyond what Suno's delivering. Like, um, the quality of the bass, the fidelity of the sounds, I find is quite incredible.
Well,
Um,
with our instruments and our vocals in particular, we wanted to make it, because a lot of, well, frankly, a lot of text to audio, they rely on the same underlying structures, like how it's being trained, how, the technology behind it is all very similar
Mhm.
with a few tweaks. Different companies have different tweaks here and there. And the audio quality, it's gotten a lot better. If you look up like even what Google was doing like 2 or 3 years ago, I think they had something called like Music LLM. It was like an early text to audio thing. It just sounds really, it's amazing at that time, but then the sound quality is really bad. So then you think
Like an
about,
old MP3,
yeah, worse than an old MP3. It's like
like 96 hertz MP3.
yeah, it's like an
Good
80s
rate.
8-bit sampler or
Yeah.
something, but not as good, you know. But what I mean is the 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 speed of which audio is improving is quite impressive.
Kai, with the workflow, like for producers, obviously, you know, time is is so short for them now. With like instruments and all that, how does that work? You know, obviously, you can have singers that are just specifically for them, or you can share with everyone. How does the instruments work when it comes to like the licensing? If you want to
Yeah,
explain that?
it's very similar to the way the singers work. So the instrument models, we're working with individual players. So for example, I'm a violinist.
Yeah.
I'm recording my violin in. Our team is going in and looking at the data set, looking at the pitch, the spectral qualities of the instrument. We're annotating every single note, and then we're annotating what the articulations are. So it's really kind of laborious, but the thing that we get by very detailed annotation is when I input MIDI notes after it's trained, then it's going to look at the way the phrasing is, right? So it's not like a sample VST playback. It's looking at the phrasing of the MIDI notes
Got it. Got
and
it.
like trying to match how that individual violinist, in my case, would play it.
So
So
like
that
if there was so sorry, Sanj, if there was something that was similar when it came to like a certain sound, let's say two artists have that, would that be a conflict, or would that like how would they know that it's from the same person or from the same
Oh, I
studio,
see.
right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So for the AI instruments, actually, it's almost, it's very specific part where you have to write in MIDI for them to play one instrument. So I'm like working with this one player when I select
Got it.
them.
Okay.
It's
Okay.
very
I get
similar
it.
to the vocalist. This is still
Vocals, got
different than the text to audio stuff that we do.
Yeah. Got
Because
it.
that's like another model in itself.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Because
Cool.
the other question I have is, so like because I have like a mixed engineering background and all that, and you know, the technology 25, 30 years ago is very different than now.
Yeah.
Like so like your choice of reverbs, how a guitar is EQ'd or all that. So I'm noticing that after messing around with Ace Studios, there's a certain sound that it produces, right?
Mm.
Um, who decides that? Like the mix balance, the type of reverb, the sound of the reverb. Like after, to say you do like 1,000 songs, there'll be a certain theme or certain kind of tone that comes across. It's not very individual. Like each mix engineer has their own signature.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm noticing Ace Studio has like a signature sound. So eventually, if say there's like 1,000 producers around the world using it, is there a fear of like, well, it's going to generate a similar tone or sound, no matter who's inputting their own kind of like, style or whether their arrangement or whatever?
Yeah. That's a really interesting question. I mean, a lot of it comes from what is learned from the data set itself, the fine tuning that happens. But I think the way that we think about it is that there's not too much control with the text to audio side. So we also doing a lot of research and actually annotating our data sets a little bit better. So that way we can have more control. Like right now, it's hard to like input chord changes and have it follow chord changes, right?
Right.
It's just because it hasn't learned that much about these things yet. So as the technology improves and we find better ways to annotate it, then we'll see more individuation for users. Like we have a open source model called Ace Step. Right now it's 1.5,
Mhm.
but it's not great, but it's a direction towards thinking that in the future people could train or fine tune their own styles with these models. So there's like a base model which acts as like the starting point, and then individuals hopefully in the future should be able to like learn. They can put their own audio in and it starts to learn from their own audio, and then they could have a very
So the
personal.
sonic quality, that sonic sound gets retained, right?
Yeah, because AI right now in general with audio, it tends to flatten. So what
Yeah.
you're noticing is actually a problem in the sense of, say like if I'm like Bob Powers or Steve Albini and I have my own signature sound, there's AI sucks at doing that right now because it's too vast of a training data set. But what you could do is like say I'm your SANJ, and then you have your own way of you mixing in the future, you should be able to pass it the way that you mix things, and it should learn how you would mix it.
Yeah,
And get
because
more
I'm
and more.
noticing with my traditional, what we call bhangra, which is like,
Mm,
using the dols and the tumbis,
yeah.
like, there's no way I've messed around with it. Um, I cannot get my sound, which is probably a good thing at the moment, right? That it can't duplicate my sound,
Yeah.
that people are used to, and if I mess around with it and I were to put it out, people would know right away, well, it doesn't sound like a DJ Sanj record,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
right? Which is, I think, I mean, I'm sure, like, give it another year, like, it'll be, like, the next step up.
Yeah.
But, I as a producer, I noticed that, like, I can now listen, "Oh, I know what platform that came from," 'cause you can kinda pick up the transients and how it's
Mm,
mixed, and the balance, and the kind of reverbs they use, and
yeah.
I agree with you. It picks, like, a median average
Mm, mm,
kind of
mm.
everything,
Yeah.
which then,
Have you,
it would encourage, like, someone like me to, like, well, how do I make it my own even more? But
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
you have to apply the work. You have to do the extra work, right?
To us, I think that's one of the most important things is we're not trying to take the human out of the loop. Actually, we think that these are just whether it's the vocals or the AI instruments or the text to audio things, it just represents a possibility for the producer to then go in and freak and mix and split and chop up. We don't really encourage folks to just be like, okay, I just generate something that's it, because AI audio right now as it is, it's never will be as good as having a mix engineer go in, mix the frequencies, add some sub here, or real players come in and play. Maybe one day it'll get better at that, to that level, but right now we see it as a good starting point to generate ideas really quickly, and very vast ideas, right? Like maybe I wanted this string line I wanted to turn it into an Indian like a bhangra, or like a 1970s Bollywood funk thing or something.
Oh, you can mix genres as well, right? Like
you can mix genres. So it's like a way to dream up sounds, but then when you're dreaming up sounds, there's a flattening of the audio. So you really have to go in and be like, okay, what are the possibilities here? Yeah.
Kai, so like obviously you must have heard the term, the soul or the heart of the track. It doesn't feel human. Like what's your thoughts on that? Is that what A Studio is trying to do all about? Like it's trying to show like, hey, you can still have soul in a music without doing the traditional way. Like what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so this is interesting. I mean, I definitely believe in the flavor of the musician and the person making choices. This is a really interesting conversation because it goes also to the history of, like, say, generative music.
Yeah.
Or say like Brian Eno, what he was doing with like music for airports, for example, this ambient record. He had all these different recordings that were just on loop, and he would just choose which one to bring in. So the choice of the person curating it becomes more and more important.
Well, we're all tastemakers.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, if you were to dilute it down to the one point, it would be we're all tastemakers. Some people have more skill to create the ideas and implement and execute those ideas. But now I find with AI music, everyone now can be a tastemaker, because that learning curve of how to like produce a record. Not so much a producer record, but like you don't need to play the instruments. You don't need to know music theory.
Yeah.
Well, what sounds good to you, right?
Well, Sanj, what I find fascinating about all this is, one, you can do hybrid music that you would never think of, and it would come together, and it creates a whole new idea for yourself, right? There's instruments that you may not ever be able to reach, and now you can, right? It's just those types of things. Your accessibility is so open. I think it's kind of like music taste, right? Like now with obviously streaming music, your music can be so open where there's songs that you'll never hear in a million years if you go to like a store or anything like that, right? So I think it's like what you guys are doing, from what I've heard, because Sanch shows me all the time about for A Studios. It just sounds so authentic. It sounds so real, and sometimes like even the brain like can just go, wow, like I can't even believe I'm hearing this, and this is just straight AI, right? So but do you feel like you could still have soul in a track, when even though there is like AI elements into a song?
Well, it depends on what you mean by soul. I think for me, so you remember like in the early 90s and the late 80s, like you started seeing all those stickers that say drum machines have no soul, right?
Yeah.
I would argue that an MPC 60 or a 3000 or the old
that's how I used to make the beats for back in the day. The MPC hitting the pads and everything, adding the shuffle.
Yeah,
that was the big thing, right? And people don't realize that like doing a shuffle, and like Dr. Dre was famous for that, and Timberland for adding a shuffle. Everyone's mind just got blown. And I'm thinking, well, a live player would listen to that and go, dude, that's not a big deal. We like a toll pattern is by default on a shuffle.
Oh, okay.
When you're playing the toll drums, it's always on a shuffle. It's never flat, right? So the MPC when that came out, it was like game changing because I started off on the ASR10
Yeah, I had an ASR10
sampler,
too.
right? Because
Yeah.
it had the shuffle dial on there, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So for
And then
me, that's how I started.
you could sample so
Yeah,
quick
yeah,
on that thing, right?
exactly. So I came
Yeah.
from the sampling background.
Yeah.
Another question I have is because I have a lot of DJs and producers that follow me,
Mm-hmm.
and they're always picking my brain. And as far as like in the Punjabi music field, I mean, everyone's dabbling in AI, but kind of like they're hiding it. I heard this term. It was I was reading an article, and they said basically AI music's like the Ozempic.
I just saw that. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Forbes.
And,
Yeah.
but it matches up. So everyone says, "Oh, I'm not taking Ozempic," but they are. But they keep it really on the down, keeping it on the down low,
Yeah.
right?
I think, well, so going back to the Nick and to tie these two questions together, I think is really interesting. So this idea of one is this idea of like secrecy, like everyone uses Chat GPT quote or some kind of LLM or like Gemini or something to help with their writing,
Yeah,
but they're more open to admit it now as they did like coders. I remember like maybe like a year and a half ago, people who were writing like starting to dabble in using like Copilot and ChatGPT to fix code. They were a little embarrassed about it, but now it's like encouraged to use it, right? And um, I think with music, actually, it's harder. It's a little harder thing to sell because people think of music creation as such a human activity,
there's
right?
emotional connection. People are,
Yeah,
it's personal, right?
yeah,
Like when you're writing an email, unless it's to like a significant other or someone you love or hate,
mm,
they're pretty like generic. Everyone's just writing like work emails essentially. But
yeah,
music's personal. It's attached to a memory that you
yeah,
have, and everyone's tastes kind of get baked in over time.
yeah,
And I think that's where the issue comes for the whole ethical implication of it is more has to do with that a connection we have to music
yeah,
as human beings.
yeah.
Sanj, are you saying you're not emotional when you write to your lawyer emails all the time, or?
If I'm writing to my lawyer, I'm always pretty angry. Like
Yeah.
I'm annoyed or
Okay.
something's going on, right?
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
maybe you
But
can save the emotion for the therapist, you know?
yeah, exactly, right?
Yeah.
I can't. The problems I have, I would need Jeff Bezos money to deal with to pay my therapist, right?
Yeah.
But one question I had, so because everything's moving so fast, this is all happening really recently,
Yeah.
is with the ethical AI topic. Are you guys in touch with the major DSPs like iTunes and Spotify? Because I'm finding now, as of April 30th, Spotify is rolling out this whole verified check mark for artists now.
Mhm, mhm.
And so, and with Udio being purchased by Universal, Universal's trying to front Udio as like the ethical AI, and this is okay, but essentially everyone's kind of banning against Suno, right? Is where I
Mm,
see like the line being drawn
mm,
because of where the learning came from,
mm,
essentially how the models were trained.
mm.
Are you guys in touch with the DSPs in any way to say, look, we are doing it properly. We're following these kind of formats. So like ours, because I'm sure there must be some sort of sonic fingerprint that a studio has that would differentiate it on like, even if we can't hear it, but that would set a studio. Okay, that's an A studio production, or a studio was used in the production, and this platform was used in this production, and so on. Um, are you guys in contact with these platforms, these DSPs?
No. Yeah, right now, no, because our team is so we're like a 35 to 40 people team.
Oh wow.
So we're really small, but so a lot of our focus is like on the development. We're like for us, so like we've been rapidly prototyping, like doing research on things that are happening, trying to. I mean, that's why sometimes you say like Ace could be a little buggy,
Yeah.
but because it's like we're trying different things, we're trying to add things. It gives us a much faster way of moving than say like a big company like Warner or Suno or
So
because
what's
yeah.
the business model you guys have? Like, where do you guys see it going in the next 3 to 5 years as far as you as a part of this company that has this vision? You might like you guys must sit down together and have your vision of like how you want to have your impact on this whole industry.
Yeah, so all of us are very different backgrounds. So there, but I think definitely the Joe, who's the CEO, and Conger, the CPO, and Sean, the technical, the CTO. I would say the collective vision is moving towards thinking about AI as a more like compositional partner or agent that can help you while you're working. It's not. We've incorporated a lot of text to audio because we realize there's a lot of users who want that. But we still want to focus on trying to make more professional tools for like mid-range to pro level producers and composers. So the focus is still very much on that is one component. Another focus is actually thinking about how sound works with video. So we have a video composer tool that it's in beta mode, but we're developing. And then we're thinking about ways to generate MV to music videos to music. So that's one path too that we're looking at. And then one path for us too is looking at research towards better ways of prompting audio. So maybe in the future we can do things like say, I want that very specific section to be changed. I want to swap that guitar out for, maybe like a violin or something.
You
And
can
right
dissect
now,
it a little bit more. Yeah.
dissect it more
Yeah,
with
yeah.
language. Right now, there's a lot of workarounds. You have to like split the audio, convert it to MIDI, add a new instrument. There's ways to do it, but we're
It's a little bit,
looking
yeah,
at
it's a little bit hinky in some ways. But then I'm even going the next step. I even put like 120 hertz. I want mono bass, and I'm messing around with like I'm trying to see if I can get it to do those kind of things.
yeah.
And for me, like, because I retired from the music business about 12 years ago,
Mm,
and I only came back because I found like one that I can literally sit on my couch and come up with ideas and scratches, what I call them scratches, and start running through everything at such a high rate and high speed,
mm,
and then kind of choose this is what I want to put my time and invest my time and energy in. Because
yeah.
I found that one, it brings down cost,
Yeah.
right? Like I don't even need a full studio like I used to have.
Yeah.
Even though we're in the process of building a full studio again.
Okay.
But I find that like for me, coming from the CD and cassette era,
Yeah.
distribution was always the biggest headache,
Yeah.
right? And now that problem is essentially solved with streaming. Everyone in the world, and I think this is what people in genre music get wrong, is they think like, oh, everyone like hip hop, for example. Back I was having this conversation with Nick. People that listen to hip hop in the 90s and stuff didn't listen to EDM, or they didn't listen. They're like, no, I listen to hip hop, or this
Yeah.
person will listen to grunge, or this
Yeah.
person would listen to this, right?
Yeah.
And you couldn't like overlap. Whereas I think now there's like you have access to the whole world, all the world's music. If you want to listen to some Italian hip hop, go for it, right? I mean,
Yeah.
and I feel that with mixing genres, you're gonna find there's a huge demographic of people that are hungry for just different sounds and vibes, and no one even cares if it's English or a different language.
Yeah.
I think we've passed that stage now where like even the language doesn't matter.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think that's definitely one of the things that I'm personally excited about with AI and music is not so much the ability to regurgitate old sounds, but there's clearly a need. People are using it for, but it's the ability to like, is it possible to create sounds that are unheard of using, you know, can we take it further? Like right now, this is an area that can be very experimental. So I think for me, this is me personally, and this goes back to Nick, your question about the soul. I think the human or the creator or the human machine in the loop is just as important because the soul for me of any music comes from the mistakes that happen, right?
Yeah.
What distinguishes a good guitar player and their characteristic is actually like, I don't know. I mean, it's like the things they can't do compared to that other guitar player but because they couldn't do that, they had to develop their technique in a very different way.
So it's kind of like sorry to cut you off. It's kind of like, so like A Studios is basically trying to trying to do like a rough idea and try to make it a little bit more professional with the rough idea that you're trying to work with. Does that sound about right? Or
Well,
Yeah.
it's more. I think it's also more than that. I think it's just another tool. And it comes on like the hammer, right? Hammer is just a tool. It's what you build with it. Jimmy. I think for me, like as I'm currently producing, like I'm producing an album on a studio because I find the best way to learn the platform is to actually work on the platform.
Yeah.
And so that way I hate reading manuals. I don't, because I know you guys have like manuals and stuff. Like, no, I'm not gonna read it. I'm gonna learn this like the hard way, right? Like I'm gonna make a ton of mistakes and get frustrated and go, how do I get this out of it? And
well, you're
then I
stubborn.
figure
Is
out
that what
my
you're
own
trying to say?
workflow. Like,
Well,
dude, I never read instructions. And the thing is,
Yeah.
the A Studio like tutorials and stuff are pretty good. Like they're really good. And there's so much content out there with other producers that are using the platform. And
Mhm.
vocal synth is amazing. I think when it comes to Western vocals, I think it's brilliant.
Yeah. I think but I guess going like what you're saying in terms of like we want to build things that you have a strong leaning for the human in the loop, because that's where the soul, quote unquote, of the music will still be. It's in embracing some of the imperfections of it. I mean, I think that's why a lot of people get frustrated about AI. It's like, why isn't it doing what I'm telling it to do? You know,
It got the word wrong. It got the word wrong. It didn't pronounce the word right. I get that all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think working with the limitations of this technology is actually just as important, because it's called, I mean, part of it is embracing the chance and the flattening of a lot of things. It's like, okay, this wasn't what I wanted, but can I work with this? Or can this take me in a different direction? I'm a big fan of like music that involves a lot of like chance. So things like, process-based music, or like or algorithmic music, like, so my background is in classical guitar performance, and then I got really into generative computer music. So I come from like a professional musician background, and then got really involved in academia. I work as a professor at Cal Arts, and so there's a way to embrace all of these things together without. It's not so much like human versus machine versus. It's like we are all human. We are all part machine. The machine itself has learned. I mean, it's like where the boundaries lie aren't that important anymore for me. But it's really like, how do we embrace like the limitations of this technology to create something better? It's like with sampling, right? Like if I have 10 seconds on SP12, or like, 60 seconds on an MPC 3000 or whatever it is, I have to work my best to use the limitations, and that creates a sonic character.
But there was also sampling's a good example. There was a huge pushback when people started sampling. Like in my industry, I was notorious for sampling. Yeah, I mean, back in we're talking like late 90s, early 2000s.
Yeah.
And there was a huge push. Well, why can't you play everything live, or why can't you do it from scratch? Or
Yeah.
and I used to get a lot of pushback. And I'm a techie anyways, so I'm like, I adopt all the technology, and I'm like, look, and I figure AI music is getting somewhat of a pushback from artists at the moment. A lot of it has to do with the pushback on AI in general. As soon as you use the two letters A and I, right away it's already, you're either going left or you're going right. And then you add music to that, and then I think everyone gets even a little bit more like crazy about it. But I don't think the listener, see, when you guys are talking about soul and all this stuff, for me, music was always entertainment. And then and then also it's your experience. So maybe you're going through something, you hear a song that relates to that experience you're going through, and that's what makes the connection to you and the song, right? Now that's where the soul comes in. Now, whether that song is AI generated, was played live, was played on an MPC, had a sample, it makes no difference to the listener, because the listener is going to connect whatever feeling and emotion they want to that song, which is independent of the person who made it. And so my perspective is the person who made it is essentially irrelevant, in the sense that, like, the listen, like the old saying, beauty is in the eye of the beholder.
Mm, mm,
The same thing with music. How the person receives the music is the most important part
mhm,
because, um, that's what builds the connection. That's what builds the emotions. Um,
mm,
when I create a song, I have no control of how it's going to impact people or what kind of feelings it's going to create.
yeah,
And
yeah,
I'm always like, that's where I find it. Like when people say, "Oh, I love your song. It got me through a tough time," or "It makes me happy when I listen to one of your songs," or something like that.
yeah,
And I'm like, "That's great. That's what it was intended for." How
yeah.
I feel about the song personally, like I've got songs that I genuinely like. I
That's what you
love.
tell them? That's great.
Well, yeah,
That's
yeah,
what
it's a thumbs
that's
up,
what
man.
it's
It's
intended
awesome.
for?
Well, I always do a thumbs up emoji or something on Instagram. But the thing is, like, I've got songs that like no one liked, but
Yeah.
they're so personal to me. So I'm the listener in that. Like I listen to that song, it means something to me. But then I know that those songs, everyone's like, no, that's whatever that Sanj put out, that was kind of crap. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? So for me, it comes down to the listener experience. And I think the AI music train, like it's Pandora's box has already been opened. It's out there. And this we're in the very early stages, like really early stages. I mean,
I'm
I
kinda
can just see
curious
it
I'm kind of
going like
curious when there's people that are going to school for music. Obviously, it's going to be very heavy AI driven. Like, what do you think? What do you think that's going to happen? Like in a few years? Like,
oh,
do you
yeah,
think it'll be
you're on the educational side. So
in the
Yeah.
educational? Yeah.
definitely.
Like, do you
So
see it now, or do you
yeah, yeah,
like?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So I've been teaching around AI and art, visual arts and music uh at an arts university at a few different universities for the past 5 years, 6 years. Um when I started, the treatment of this was very experimental because it was experimental. Like you're generating images that through training your own collected data sets, there was no like text to image or text to audio at that time. So it was very experimental, a lot of spirit of experimentation. Now, because it's more standardized and it's very easy, it's so easy that anyone there's a pushback on like scale, right? It's not treated as experimental technique. It's almost like the scale of it is something that students can be scared of.
Hmm.
So we've seen kind of almost like post chat GPT moment and pre chat GPT moment in terms of arts. Like, so there's a lot of pushback on it, understandably so. Like people are like, especially at an arts university, people are like, well, there's almost a reaction against it, like almost like a conservative reaction in terms of we need to go back to craft, right? Or there's like a an embrace of it, but thinking about it more like we need to find ways to push it. Now this is the part that's more interesting me is like, can we work with this to push it towards something else? Maybe not, because the limitation is on how we think of our relationship to technology and the arts. And going back to Sans, what you were saying about what music is for. I mean, obviously, there's a wide range of things it's for, but it comes down also to your intention. Um, I don't think AI will ever replace like a Zakir Hussain or a John Coltrane, but a lot of the standard kind of like dentist, you know, there are things that the reason they're getting automated and standardized is because it was so automated and standardized before, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So I think, well, as artists, like if we want, okay, so there's another fear. Sorry, I'm just like rambling,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
there's
no.
No, no. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh,
another
he's used to it from me, so
okay.
don't worry about it.
So another thing about AI is there's this idea of the flattening of possibility of music. So outside of the ethical questions is like if music is getting standardized and stale and easily reproducible,
Like tap water is the
yeah,
example everyone uses.
yeah, okay, then will the future of the listener be so narrowed, right? Now, this is a bigger issue than AI. It goes to like where we are in a sort of like what stage of like capitalism we are, like how these companies treat these things. There's so many factors that aren't related to the technology itself. It's only like a lot of the companies that are accelerating technology and shoving it down people's throats, then that's a real effect. Like, we are watering down the stuff for future if we don't actually find ways to make music and take it further. So that's I and it shouldn't only be up the responsibility of the artist. I think that's a lot of weight to put on the artists. It should also be a responsibility of these companies to not, like, fuck up the future for our children and stuff, But, like, because we are musicians and artists, like, well, how do we see our role in facing technology for the future? Like,
Well,
yeah.
so the way I look at it is, if I go back now, so Ed Sheeran had his case, I think it was a few years back, saying that he copied a record, and he
Yeah.
said, I didn't. And
Mhm.
essentially what he was saying is, like, look, that same chord progression has been used in so many different songs.
That's the Marvin Gaye one.
No,
That
that
one.
was the other one. That was what was that one?
Oh, was it
What's his name?
Justin Timberlake?
His dad used to be on that sitcom. What's it called?
Oh, you're talking about Robin Thicke?
Robin Thicke.
Oh, Robin Thicke. Yeah.
That was
Okay.
So that case is even more interesting because there was no sample. What the judge said was it felt like he copied it. There was no copying. He felt like it. And so when you actually, like, I actually went through and looked at the case, there was no sample taken. There was no actual copy of the riff. They just felt it sounded and felt like Marvin Gaye.
Mm.
And so the point I'm trying to make is, there's only so many keys. There's only so many permutations of a way to play those notes in any kind of specific order mathematically, right?
Mm.
At some point, even now, so for example, they're saying 40,000 songs are being uploaded every day on a specific platform, right?
Mm.
We've already hit that, right? So essentially now we've when it comes to content in general, there's so much content now that there's going to be overlap. There's going to be things that, oh, that sounds like this, that sounds like that, because the amount of content that all of us as a human beings are creating at the moment that's getting saved it's insane, right? Like, it's incomprehensible, right? So the way I look at it now is there's no essentially the example is when I was because I went to university and did a degree in philosophy, which
cool.
is, in the sense, is pretty useless. So, except for, like,
Yep.
it makes me ask why all the time.
It might be the most useful in these times, actually.
Yeah. So what happened was, I would have arguments with my philosophy teacher, and the idea was there are no new ideas. Whatever exists already existed. So we gave the example of the unicorn. Oh, but the unicorn is a new idea. No, it's not. It's a combination of two ideas: a horse and a horn. So if you break it down, you got the horn and you got the horse. You put them together, now you say it's a unicorn.
Mm.
Right?
Mm.
And so all of the, if you break down to the basic of ideas or structures, and all we're doing is we're putting Lego together,
Mm.
and we're making different things, but essentially it's still Lego.
Mm.
Right? And so on the music side of it, it's interesting because I don't know how they're going to source when it comes down, like, copywriting and publishing. I think those rules are going to change now, especially because of that Ed Sheeran case is probably the starting point of that, because everyone's going to have an overlapping sound, and the way the plugins are working, like, you got, like, this Wingman plugin that basically reproduces the chords and gives you chord options. But now what everyone's doing is, with stem splitting, you split the stems and you're like, well, I want this feel of this song. So even producers are now taking, like, oh, I want this guitar feel. They'll use something like Wingman that will give you the permutations of different chord arrangements. But now everyone can do that. So everyone is taking influence or inspiration from something. So everything is eventually going to become, I wouldn't say monotonous, but it's going to be, you have to tailor it to a specific generation or a specific community that has a specific voice.
Mm.
So, for example, the next generation will have their own set of problems and issues in society, and they're going to want music that speaks to them directly.
Mm.
And maybe a 1970s classic rock song is not actually speaking to them, but a 2030 rock song, what the topics that are being discussed, will speak to them. And I think that's essentially, so it comes back to the whole cultural thing, right? Um,
Yeah. I think it also, I mean, that's a really interesting point too. I think also it's interesting to think about how music has changed in terms of the distribution or how people receive music.
yeah.
I mean, I have a daughter, she's like 12, and then I ask her, she listens to a wide range of music, but I'm asking her, where did you hear this? Or she's listening to music that was popular when I was a kid, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm just like, oh, she just heard it on like TikTok or something. Like, I was like, oh, so have you heard the album? She's like, oh, what's the album? Like, just joking. Yeah, she knows what album is, but it's like, no, I mean, these are the way we consume music is very different than say, like 20, 25 years ago, you would
Going
buy
to the record shop,
Yeah,
chatting with the record store owner. He's like going, "Have you heard this? You got to check this out, right?"
yeah.
And
And
then you tangible, you touch the album, you'd see the artwork. It's a whole different experience, which Gen Z and Gen Alpha haven't experienced. They don't
yeah,
know what that's like. So they want to see what it's like, which is why you have International Record Day,
yeah,
where
yeah,
everyone
yeah.
kind of like lines up at a record store. So it's happening. But then going back to an earlier point you mentioned, um, about you being a classical musician and playing the violin or the guitar, right?
Mhm.
And what I found is the craft part of it, I don't think is gonna go away because
No.
if I know a pianist, for example, right? That now a pianist is its own craft. Now that pianist that I know has no interest in making music, has no interest in being an artist, but they are an artist in a way, but they'll perform their classically trained style and craft in front of an audience,
Mhm.
and that's its own art,
Yeah,
and that business model is completely different.
yeah.
Right? Or when you go to like an orchestral arrangement, you go see an orchestra, the conductor performs to his orchestra, and that's a whole different thing. And that I don't think that's ever going to go away
Yeah,
because otherwise Broadway would have been gone. Do
yeah.
you know what I mean? If people weren't interested in that live emotional experience of seeing it and hearing it played live. Um, and so I think the art's not going to go away, but when we're complaining, most people conflate two things: the music business and then music as an art form.
Mhm.
They're not necessarily the same thing. They're
Mm-mm.
actually two different things,
Yeah,
right? And I think people kind of put them together and make it one thing,
yeah,
but no, that's a business, right? Like
yeah,
making a home movie is very different than going to watch a movie at a theater, right?
yeah,
Or a Marvel movie or something.
yeah,
And people kind of mix it all together into one thing. But
yeah,
I don't think the art's going to go away. I know a lot of kids that are learning how to play the piano or how to play the guitar.
yeah,
That doesn't
yeah,
mean they want to be a musician or they want to release music on Spotify. They can if they want, but they're learning it as maybe an emotional way to release their feelings or to express themselves. So there's a whole different way of looking at it. And I think people get really emotional and they shut down of trying not having an open mind and having an open conversation about what's happening in society and culture right now. And I think music, because it has that emotional component, it's hitting people a little bit differently. Like the artist pushback is insane. And I get pushback because I'm one of the first Punjabi artists right now that's really like AI music video, AI
mhm,
production,
mm,
AI vocal. And I'm like, listen, like I'm doing me. So don't worry about it. There's plenty of music out there. You don't have to listen to anything I'm doing. But if you like it, cool. But um
Sanj, your TED Talks would be like 10 hours long of just whole lot of everything.
you could
I don't even know what the question.
why would
I don't even know what the question is.
because guy goes, well, I like to have different thoughts. I'm like, oh, no, my brain. I mean, I'm lucky it stays inside my skull. Like it
nah.
wants to like, explode all the time.
No, no, I feel you. I was like riding that wave with you. I was like, I was going. We're
Wait,
traveling together.
where's he gonna go with this? Where's it gonna go? Where's
We're
it gonna go?
traveling.
Right?
Yeah,
But that's the fun part, right? Like the human connection cannot be replaced. And the day,
yeah,
we're just overdeveloped monkeys. Do you know what I mean? It's not gonna get replaced. Like
yeah,
we want to have the interaction. We want to have the debate. We want to have this interact. Like I don't like when people say AI, everyone's like all the guys are like talking about, oh, who's gonna get their first AI girlfriend? I'm like, dude, like I don't know. Like maybe the next generation might be like they will have like it being AI girlfriends are a cool thing. I don't know.
I
Or it
think
could be
it's
one of your friends. You never know.
yeah,
No, I'll tell Kai. I already told you this story. I'll tell Kai the story because I thought it was hilarious. So I've got a close friend of mine. He's got 2 daughters.
Mm.
So they go to his parents' place, their grandparents, and in the basement, they go rummaging in the basement. There's all these boxes and storage, and they found the old rotary phone,
Mm.
right? And they go, "Dad, what is this?" They hold it up and they go, "What is it? We don't know what this is. What is this?"
Mhm.
They go, "It's a telephone." That's what we used to have, a telephone. They look at the telephone, they're looking at like this all around it. They go, "But where are the apps?"
Yeah.
Like their comprehension of what the phone was where are the apps? I thought it was hilarious because like for us, it's a communication device. For the next generation, they look at the same thing completely differently,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
their experiences are completely different.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, I think all the things you're talking about, I think, especially now, I can understand why people are contentious about AI. For me, I just think, and also, I think we need to be more nuanced. I think we need really hard to critique AI, um, and to do it in a way that's not binary. It's not like yay AI or fuck AI. It's not really about like this binary, because in reality, there's a lot of things that AI is that we don't really understand. People might like need better literacy around what are make up the different components of AI, right? Like, but I think that being said is like, well, this is something that we're faced with, and it's gonna like going back to philosophy and thinking about ethics, it's like, well, it's gonna change how we think about what it means to be human. And people are also sometimes afraid to question what humanness means.
Well, I think we've taken it for granted.
Yeah, I mean, but there's a lot of good precedents for humans in the art. Like if we look at the history of like contemporary art, right? Like a lot of this question about human authorship and authenticity has changed in the 20th century, right? But for us to be reactionary and be like, okay, what does it mean to like how can we be more organic and human? I understand that tendency, but we need to like start thinking about these things a little bit more complex. Like the soul question is really interesting. Like how do we define what the soul of music
Yeah.
is? How do we define what authorship is? How do we define like what is stealing versus not stealing? What are patterns in our brain like that we're repeating through learning other people? But that's the beauty of it. It's like if I want to produce like Jay Dilla and I fail, it's through that failure that I will develop my own style. If I learn it too closely, then I'm just completely copying. But it's the failure to actually get there that actually develops something really interesting. So
Well, I think the most important thing about being human is that we're so imperfect.
yeah,
And because we're so imperfect, that's what makes us interesting, right? Perfect is not interesting.
yeah,
But Kai, it's been great having you on here. Great conversation.
yeah, it's
Uh,
fun.
as far as like a closing, like as far as going back to A Studio, what do you want the big takeaway to be to producers or people that are kind of like curious about AI music and where it's going? Like, what's your 2 cents that you want to leave? This is what I want to leave everyone with.
Hmm. I would say play. Just try it, play, see where you can take it, see where it fails, see where it excels, see where it exceeds beyond your expectation. But most importantly is like play and be open to seeing where you are as you play, I think.
Yes, I Have an Opinion podcast. Its owners and associates take no responsibility for opinions or statements made by Sanj Singh, its co-hosts, callers, or their guests. Yes, I Have an Opinion podcast is meant for entertainment purposes only. It is not our intention to libel, discriminate, or annoy anyone. If you get annoyed, just tune into something else.